A scion of many worlds. You know if they don't show up, you're going to have a lot of angry people to deal with. Zavia notes as she witnesses the celebration going on around the Eridus Valley. Firstly, I have every confidence in the timing, Jasper says solemnly. Then he grins. Secondly, this celebration is officially about crushing the Slaver Empire and nothing else. Even my own ascension into a primal Earthani and the arrival of my mother, brother, and brothers in arms are being brushed to the side, even if everyone knows what this is about. That just makes you look uncertain. Some people get offended by hope. I don't understand it much myself, but I want even those people here, Jasper says as he reaches down and adjusts the jacket on Zavia. Wear it properly. It's a jacket, not a cape. Yes, Dad. Zavia snarks at him. She does stop wearing her jacket hanging off her shoulders and properly puts her arms through the sleeves. Just looking out for you. You don't want to lose the jacket, do you? It's just a jacket. Yes, and that jacket is of value. Don't just dismiss it even if you don't like it. Throwing things away out of hand is just a bad habit. Jasper chides her even as she buttons up the jacket properly. There we go. Was that so hard? He gets the unspoken bit of attitude as she gives him her back and she puts her nose in the air. Right. Well, I've held you up enough. Just make sure to keep the jacket on, all right? That strapless dress is a bit much otherwise. She huffs and stomps off towards the buffet tables and he just shakes his head. He can easily see her due to his antenna, but it's only polite to face someone when you speak to them. Well, Mother, I would like to apologize for when I gave you that kind of attitude when I was a teenager. Morgana laughs into her hand even as she walks up next to him. There's nothing to apologize for. It's just part of growing up, testing your limits, learning where they are. It's almost scientific. She's fighting you in so many things, but is finding what she's fighting for to be silly over and over again. That, and she still resents me for taking her throne and crown. I looked into the records and she really did have no power, but there was quite the illusion of power around her. She's going to have to grow up a fair bit more before she ever looks at her loss of the throne as anything other than a negative. Oh, you've made amazing progress already. Remember, you introduced yourself to her as an unstoppable enemy. Prove that you were such and are now in a position where she feels safe, giving you all the sass she can muster. She may resent you, but she doesn't fear you. Considering you've only been her parent for a few weeks, that's an astounding amount of progress. I worry that I wasn't attentive enough in that time, though. It was a busy series of weeks. Considering that you fought multiple skirmishes, diplomatically brought an entire planet into a calmer state, fought and won a war, and many other things, I dare say that busy is a hilarious understatement, my son. Wherever did you learn such time management skills? Oh, that's an easy one. I haven't been sleeping anywhere near where I should have. Emmanuel. I wonder where I picked up that habit, he muses. That's different. Paying close attention to numerous experiments is something done in a safe and controlled environment. Waging wars, diplomatic meetings, and nation building are decidedly unsafe. Indeed, by the way, you were working on a null unraveling experiment when I passed. Was it ever completed? I started it again after a few years. The experiment was a failure. The contained null could not be unraveled by anything other than the natural decay process of introducing axiom to it and having it effectively detonate. We were able to more clearly define exactly how much axiom is needed to fully unravel null, but nothing more came of it. What's the ratio? Jasper asks, genuinely interested. Well, with an artificially induced piece of null in an axiom vacuum, the ratio is roughly 11.2 to 1 for the amount of primary lane density axiom required to fully unravel the null. Of course, the primary axiom lanes have roughly 8.3 times the density of most axiom in the galaxy, and are attuned to the concepts of movements to begin with. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to secure further funding for that branch of research once I informed my patrons that only natural decay seemed to work. Well, that was short-sighted. If they had the foresight to push the research further, they could have made contact with humanity much, much earlier. Maybe all this would have been accomplished in some earlier century. I doubt it. It would have been a very different humanity that contact would have been made with. What was the era humans were in some 250 years ago again? Late Renaissance, early industrial, I think. It was a transitional period between a time of philosophy and the practical applications of things. Which means contact with the greater galaxy would have been at a very primitive point of development, which would have utterly shifted any and all cultural development as well. To put things lightly, yes. I can only imagine how extreme the reaction would be if humanity learned there was an entire galaxy of, how would they put it back then? Eager and overly ripe maidens desperate for a dear husband? Jasper muses with a claw to his chin in amusement as he considers things. To say nothing of how they would react to Axiom and the sheer amount of black magic being thrown around. As if they're not already reacting like that. From my understanding, the second group of people sent out of cruel space was nothing but spies and interrogators out to verify how much Admiral Cistern was bullshitting them, Horace says, walking up. He has a bowl full of local fruits and berries he's been sampling through systematically. His communicator is out, and he's clearly taking notes. Really? That doesn't really surprise me, but I can only imagine how badly that went. Actually, it went pretty well. The spies and interrogators were all given work to do in the intelligence division, and so long as they do good work, they have full permission to keep working. Those that aren't good at it are getting a crash course in proper infiltration and information retrieval. And how do you know this? Jasper asks, and Horace grins. The relief fleet was sent out on the same day they arrived. I got a glimpse of them, and I stayed in contact with a few friends in intelligence on the way up. The incompetent spies have all been de-aged into teenagers again as a sort of punishment for constantly screwing up and as living proof of the fact that the galaxy has a lot to offer Earth. What was their screw-up? I don't know. I've only gotten vague information, but I was told that panic and inappropriate grenade usage were a part of it, Horace says, and Jasper has a pained expression on his face. I know that just makes me want to know more too. Yes! Good God, inappropriate grenade usage? What did they do? I don't know. I don't have the clearance to have anything more than the vaguest details. Personally, I think it's some kind of loyalty test. We want to know, but do we respect the chain of command enough to leave it alone? That's unfortunately likely. They wouldn't let you know even that much unless it was fairly harmless. But it does make some fascinating bait for the less restrained. Jasper replies before both his and Horace's communicator go off. Both men check their devices and grin. It's time. Yes, it is Horace. Time to work out the old speechifying muscles again. My own is arriving shortly, which is good. I need a proper lab to start designing a functioning retrovirus that can heal the damages done to the genome of the peoples here, Morgana states, and Jasper smiles. I hope you don't mind me playing lab assistant again. I think it's been a bit too long since I've spent time with a microscope and a gene sequencer, Jasper says, and his mother's smile is all the answer he needs. Good. He moves into the center of the celebration and flares out his wings high to draw attention. When they quiet down, he withdraws the wings and raises a glass in toast. Warriors and scholars, allies and former enemies all, I ask for your attention now. Today is a day of great celebration. One of the oldest and most pernicious blights upon this world has been carved away, and a brighter tomorrow has been forged for all of Lacron. Whether you yourself have been personally touched by the depravity of the Slaver Empire or merely heard of it in darkest rumor, this day is yours. This day is a day that pains and sorrows are swept away for "Look in the sky. What's that?" someone demands, and Jasper looks up to see a vague shape shifting as it descends. He knows exactly what that is. That is a little earlier than expected. I was soon to say look to the sky, but I suppose when it comes to this, too soon is far better than too late, Jasper declares as the shape shows itself to be a massive chrome diamond shape. "Brother, what is the name of this ship?" It was captured as the Cherry Crush, but it was remodeled and renamed the Cornucopia. It's primarily a logistics vessel, but it has enough teeth to chase of casual piracy. On that ship is all the base resources needed to get things moving on this world. Of course, it's just the first, but several of the others have a lot of work to do in orbit and setting themselves up in system. That blockier one is the Formulae, a flying hospital and university. Good people of Lacron, I do declare that help has arrived, Jasper announces as the cornucopia descends upon the Aridus Valley and hovers just above. A panel in the side opens and a smaller ship flies out before descending upon the party and pausing just above everyone. The side opens up and projectors to either side of the door make a pathway down. A man in the white formal dress uniform of the Undaunted marches out and then snaps a salute when he arrives in front of Jasper. "Sir, your request for a relief fleet has been met. A communication pylon is being deployed as we speak. 2 defensive stations are being converted out of transport mode and have already begun to shift into full defensive platforms. The cornucopia has numerous tools, designs, and the fuels required to build and maintain all the infrastructure required to elevate the living standards of Lacron up to the galactic medium." "Confirmed, Captain. Welcome to Lacron," Jasper replies with his own salute. "Thank you, sir. There are more on the way. We're just the tip of the spear. There's much more to come. Now that the trail has been blazed, more still will come as well." "Good to hear, Captain. Glad to have you with us." "Excellent. Although I appear to be interrupting a party? Just a short celebration after cleaning house a touch. Don't worry, there's plenty for everyone to do. I also see that you got our teleported soldiers safe and sound. They were a big help with that bit of house cleaning, although if anything I think they had a bit too much fun." "Nothing wrong with enjoying your job," the captain states. "Hey, Captain Short, is my stash on the shuttle?" Horace calls out. "Yes, it is," Captain Short says in an exasperated tone of voice. Horace gives off a slight cheer. Leaps out of the stunned and staring crowd to land on the shuttle. He climbs into the open door and the captain sighs. "You freaking titans. Larger than life in everything." Captain Short grumbles theatrically and Jasper shrugs. "Sorry, I just never saw the point to doing things halfway," Jasper says. "This is really happening? Rescue has... it's real? It's happening. It's not some ancient delusion?" An ambassador from the city-states exclaims. "It's happening," Jasper confirms. We need to tell everyone. We need to spread word and the portals. Were you preparing for this all along?" "Yes," Jasper confirms again with a big smile. "With apologies to all pessimists and doomsayers, but today is a good day." "Are you sure you're not a god?" "What's this about being a god?" Captain Short asks. "I may have done a bit too good of a job in helping stabilize this world." "Evidently. Still, from your reports, this is the Aridus Valley here, correct?" "It is. The Aridus Valley is a strong central location on this continent and the home of the Starseeker Order. You've been speaking with them a fair amount on the way over. They, as well as the Grand Midwives, will be central to helping to fully heal and ascending Lacran up into a paradise." "Understood. But first, I believe you were having a party?" "You damn skippy we were. Hey bro, I got the stuff. It's time for you to get some proper drink." Horace calls out from the shuttle as he holds a trinity of bottles in one hand and leans out with a huge grin. "Not until I get a chance to scan it all. We don't know how robust his physiology is, and that stuff could very well poison him if we're not careful, Morgana protests, and the dam finally breaks as everyone starts talking all at once, most of them towards Jasper and Captain Short. "Glad to have you here, Captain." "Glad to be here," Captain Short replies before leaning to the side as Jasper turns. The Serpent Empress is there, staring up at the ship beyond Jasper in wonder before looking to him. "You brought help. You made it happen. They're here. They're finally here," she says in a strangled tone. "They are. The wait is over, Iserazan," Jasper assures her, and she outright sobs as she pulls off her veiled crown. She's openly weeping. "You're here. It's finally over. My daughters will live. My home is... I knew it would come eventually, but I never knew when. There were so many times I tricked myself, mistaking falling stars for ships, static interference for messages from the stars, and you're finally here." She throws herself on Jasper and outright weeps into his shoulder as he holds her gently. "Help has arrived, Iserazan. We've got you. You're going to be all right. I promise."